Coffee that is produced in Muranga, when it goes to countries like Switzerland, when they are processed, you find that just like Leolida has said, when they come back to sell it to us, they sell it to us at a higher price, when actually we are the people who produce the coffee. So that means we should be getting more, but they are getting, there is something called in politics, dependent politics, where the people who are supposed to be getting more are getting less, and the people who are supposed to be getting less are getting more.
Turkana used to be a no-go zone, and now with the oil, all of a sudden, all the security apparatus have been provided, but sadly, are they protecting local Turkanas? They are not. But that's also how all these land and issues around land, issues around production and exclusion come together. What do you think? Seed is disappearing. Before we answer that, how many of you have ever seen seeds that are that colored? This one here that is multicolored. This one that has like 4 or 5 colors. Some may be there, but they're not as popular and they're not in large numbers, isn't it? But seed sovereignty is when producers are able to control the seeds, they're able to control the distribution, they're able to control the sale of something. What do you think is happening to our seeds today? Is there a challenge? Is there a problem?
The seeds are now being used to produce now the generic seeds, GMO. Yeah, a mimic of them is being formed in labs, etc. The seed so that inner part is removed and it's taken through various processes. Yeah, and it is grounded, it is modified in that through after being crushed and done all those manner of things, like only one seed can be able to produce over 1,000 more similar to that. Yeah, so that's how, in a nutshell, it is done, whereby the ratio is normally very, like 1:1,000, and it can even be more. 1,000 is little.
For those of you who did biology, when you mix these two, first of all, they're different species, isn't it? Yes. And you mix, this process of mixing is done in a lab. What will come when you mix these two different species is something very different. It's not going to be, let's say, it's not going to be an animal, it's not going to be a maize seed, it's going to be a combination of two things. With this gene process, what happens is that after they've given you a different product with two different species that are unrelated, because grain and an insect, they are from different species, isn't it? But now when they mix it in the lab, then it comes up, they bring up something, looks like maize, but has two components that are unrelated. And then the other thing that they do in the lab, within this so-called new genetically modified maize, they introduce something called terminator gene. They are giving this seed a lifespan. They program it in the lab such that it has a predetermined lifespan. They can decide like it's going to be 3 months, so it's only going to be growing for 3 months. And that's part of the reason why, with these genetically modified seeds, you cannot replant them. Or when you plant them, they have stunted growth. I don't know how many of you have heard farmers say that our seeds only grew this much and they're not growing, they're not even flowering.
So this is how the sugar industry, Moroni, Mumias, and Sony. Farmers take loan, they plow your land and give you seeds. In the initial stage, you could harvest that sugarcane even 10 times. So you see, by then, you could even pay back your loan. But with the new seed, you can't harvest it more than 3 times. Within those 3 harvesting seasons, you have not even paid your loan. So you go back again and take another loan, with the previous one already accruing. That is why you see farmers in maybe Moroni, Miwani, and Kibos, and some part of Western Kenya. If you don't run away from sugar plantation, then you have a debt. But again, you cannot stop plowing that land in sugarcane, because if you stop again, they come for the land.
Wow.
That is what is happening. When you harvest that sugarcane, especially for Moroni and Chemele was bad at one time, that you could harvest your sugarcane, then it takes 8 to 12 months before you are paid. So you can get the aspect of what we're discussing about the GMO. The sugar can also take around, it takes shorter period to harvest, but it has a shorter lifespan.
So the other thing that we need to have a conversation about, food can be equated to power. When you're talking about food, it's irreplaceable. Food is health. Without food, malnutrition is a component that comes when you don't have adequate food. With malnutrition, there's an element of stunted growth. With food, you can heal so many diseases. Like kwashiorkor, scurvy, marasmus, all those many diseases, you can use food to heal them. When I talk about food as a continuity, food is life. So with life, what comes with life? A continuity of a generation. Now coffee beans. So, but these other countries, the global north, this is where now they have the industries and all that. And what happens is that the products come from the global south in raw form. This is also, primary products are also products in raw form. They've not been processed. Kama ni coffee beans, they are still venye zimetolewa kwa shamba. Unaona? Kama ni tea leaves, the way you plucked them, unaona, they are still in leaf form. But once they cross this geographical, they cross the Atlantic, they go the other side. There's something called false narrative. Yeah? Basically with false narrative, this is something that is being pushed by these multinational corporations, and of course working together with governments to push. For them, they're pushing for the market for the products. And as I said, it's these small holder farmers who feed the world, and that is evidence-based. And there are those farmers who have less than 1 acre, who they use family labor, their children are the ones who till the land and all that. But these multinational corporations, what they do is they're creating a market for their product. And when they want to create a market for the product, they're pushing a false narrative that you should use pesticides if you want large harvest, you should use these seeds. Because like, for example, right now, they have something called water efficient. It's called WEMA. They call it water efficient maize for Africa. So with this one, what they are saying is that this is a type of maize that when you plant, when there's scarcity of water, the maize can still thrive. And farmers are buying into this idea. But then the sad part is that when you grow these seeds that are not indigenous, what happens is that at every level, you'll be chained to the agrovet. If I can give an example of the armyworms, for instance, you found that when the armyworms attacked so many countries in Africa, it had a local solution. You mix ash plus soap, and then you pour on your crops. And all the armyworms do what? They die. But what was being pushed is that use this chemical. So it was actually creating a market for their what? For their products. So what I want to say is that agroecology is part of organic farming. And another thing is that it contributes positively to the environment. So for us, we are for natural processes that take care of environment. And that's why now for us, we are pushing for an agroecological system of production that not only contributes to the environmental conservation, but also regenerates. For example, the soil, regenerates components in the soil that may have disappeared. For instance, if I give an example of things like earthworms. if you use chemicals, the chemicals are very toxic. And another thing is that you find that these chemicals corrode the skin. If these people who do spraying, in many cases, like if it's a farming household, they don't have gloves. Many a times you find that with that thing is called knapsack, they just do the spraying. When it gets to your skin, this is outer skin, it's harder, you find that on your outer skin, it's very corrosive. Now try to imagine if the same component, the same chemical, gets into your stomach, into your lungs, into your digestive system and all that. If it's that corrosive to the skin, what happens when it goes inside? And that's why now for us, because for us, evidence has shown that it's these small people, older farmers who don't use any chemicals, who are actually the ones who are feeding the world. So why should we use these artificial methods? That when you're talking about agroecology, you're talking about a balanced ecosystem in terms of production process. Let me just take you through this. Soil, seed. So, this is how we look at food production. We look at it as an interlinked process. And we see that for most farmers, this is the initial stage. And as I said before, many farmers don't look at soil as a living organism. Some of the farmers are telling us that they kill earthworms because they feel that, they think that if they clear their soil of everything, it makes their soil smart. You know, the shamba looks neat. Eh? But in actual sense, when you kill earthworms, what happens? What do earthworms do in the soil? They wreck the soil, they make the soil soft. They move the nutrients from one place to another. No. Because maybe the earthworm is here, imesonga hivi, it's come here, it may excrete. But if the soil has lost nutrients, what will happen is that any small rain, it's splashed away. So the first step when you're training farmers on issues around agroecology is to understand what type of soil do you have? How much humus do you have? And then after identifying, so ameobserve kila mtu amejua akona 0% ya humus, ana earthworm hata moja ama kujuna kanto moja. Because we all know, we also explain to them what is the importance, what is the place of earthworms on your land. So, yeah. What is the place of humus? What is the place of grass? It covers the soil. So that kama iko na kumenyesha, there's some water, it doesn't evaporate as fast. And then, after we've taken the farmers through an observation of the type of soil they have, then we look at what are the remedies for the challenges that we have. Kama una earthworms, how do you grow earthworms? What do earthworms eat? So, kama you don't have humus, that's when you train farmers to do composting. How do you package your product? Cleanliness, no. Reducing the distance from the farm to the market. You can get people, instead of you taking it to their market, like for example in the villages, you find that market day is once a week. How about encouraging people to come and buy from you, buying from the farm? So it's called solidarity or community selling. You sell to people, like I know 5 households need sukuma wiki this evening. So you have them come, either they come to your farm to buy it fresh. I went for 50 shillings, you harvest it for them. That way, you're minimizing post-harvest losses because you're harvesting as you sell. You're also minimizing storage-related costs, for instance, because you're selling direct to the final consumer. And then when you talk about, for instance, on care for crops, this is where, from seeds you go to care for crops, and then you come to harvest, post-harvest, and then you still go back to soil because you're going back to till the land again. So for us, this is how we present agroecology, and of course, at every juncture, we share with the farmers on the importance of agroecology, because as I showed you, at no level are we using any chemicals. Because with compost, you can be able to address all these fertility-related problems. And when you choose your seeds, because at seeds we talk about seed selections, because sometimes you find farmers just pick seeds, throw them on the soil and cover it. If you plant seeds that are broken, you're not going to harvest anything. If you plant seeds that are moist, you're not going to have a proper harvest. So here is when we train farmers about seed banks, having indigenous seed banks, spacing, one crop from, how much space do you need from one crop to another, because there's a relationship between spacing and photosynthesis, sunlight, the sun rays and all that. And also root, you know the way the crops spread out. So if you put them together, then the roots will be competing with each other. And you know that crops get food through the roots. Kwa hayo mengi machache, nashukuru sana. Thank you.
Thank you.